where we discuss the topical issues of the day. And of course, we all know on the political space, MPs At Ssewanyana and Ssegirinya, who have been incarcerated for more than 1.5 years, there's been goings on and about on whether they should be out. But when a decision is made, then it's quickly countered by the security forces. But does this time count, or it's a case of deja vu, and within no days we shall be seeing them back into the cooler as well? Joining me this morning is top officials, not top officials, a top official at the National Unity Platform. He is the Secretary General, and David Louis Rubongoya shall be giving us a bit of perspective on what next. We're also joined by Captain Francis Babu, a seasoned political commentator. Some within you people in the audience love to call him a senior citizen. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and a good morning to the viewers.
How are we doing?
The struggle is on.
The struggle is on.
Yeah.
That question, how are we doing, I was told by a gentleman to never attempt to ask it unless I'm able to change things if somebody is not doing fine. What can we change about the struggle as far as National Unity Platform is concerned?
Well, we want to have a better country, and that's what we want to. It's not about the National Unity Platform. You can see many struggling Ugandans out there. And I think the only thing we can do is all of us as citizens to change leadership in this country and have a country or a leadership that respects the law, that respects people, that invests in the right priorities and ensures free opportunities for all citizens. Do
you agree with that, Captain Francis Babu?
Oh, that is the final. That is the ultimate. In
a change of leadership.
No, ultimate the desire for a country to have. Yeah, a good leadership, a good country.
Oh, okay.
You know, that is there. Change, that's a different argument.
It's a different argument, yeah. And for another day, perhaps.
Yeah.
We shall find how to incorporate some of its aspects into the discussion. Allow me ask Mr. David Louis Rubongoya to bring us up to speed with what is on the ground in light of the release of MPs At Ssewanyana and Ssegirinya. Yeah,
as you know, Honorable At Ssewanyana and Honorable Ssegirinya have been incarcerated for more than a year and a half at Chigo for what we have called clearly trumped up charges. And one of the reasons, or one of the strong reasons that fortifies us is that the fact that no evidence has been brought forth in their case for all this time. And of course, their release came as very good news to us. Their release on bail. We are still trying to contact them. As of now, you ran the story yesterday. I've just been speaking to a family member to establish their state, the state in which they are. I spoke to the family members yesterday, and they said the whole day yesterday was spent moving from hospital to hospital, trying to, get medical treatment that they need so much. You saw Honorable Ssewanyana has been from Mulago to Luzira Hospital because of his terrible health, and the court in Masaka issued an order that he should access specialized medical treatment. So all these are the challenges that they've been going through. You cannot talk about the people of Kawempe North and the people of Machinde, which Honorable Ssewanyana represents, and Honorable Ssegirinya in Kawempe, who have been without representation for all that time. So it's incredibly sad that the regime in Uganda can hold people for that long and not bring evidence, and then on a certain day, on a good day, bad day, they say, okay, we've released you on bail. And this is what has been happening. You know that up to now we still have over 100 of our supporters in different detention facilities. Not that they committed any offense, not that, some of these have been there for more than 2 years. Others are missing. Their families have not been able to access them. We've been talking about abductions, and we've put out lists and all that. So it's a terrible state of affairs. You ran a story of this young man, Eric Mwesigwa, who was abducted and tortured. So I'm trying to say that we shouldn't just look at the case of the members of parliament. We should look at it holistically, the trials and tribulations of people who are on the other side. That does not agree with General Museveni and his regime.
Quickly bring us up to speed before we get Captain to give us a perspective on reports that a meeting was held between principals or officials at the National Unity Platform and the government to secure the release of supporters who have also been in jail for more than a year.
What I can say without fear of contradiction is that we, and I'm speaking for myself and the president of NUP, we've not been party to any negotiations of any kind. That's what I can speak with authority. I don't know of any such negotiations myself, or that has not come to my knowledge. But I also want to add that it would be very unfortunate for a country to reach a point where you accuse people of capital offenses, serious crimes of that nature, people who were, killed by whoever in massacre, and then you say that you have to negotiate with the government for these people to be released. It would be ridiculous. How do you get people, detain them for all that time, and then you say their bail has to be negotiated? Bail is a court process. It's a court process. It is given at the discretion of a judicial officer after looking at the grounds that have been brought forth. So it would be very unfortunate for anyone to, want, and in particular for General Museveni and his regime, to say that, for MPs to be out, they must come to us and negotiate with us. It would be extremely, extremely unfortunate.
All right, Captain Francis Babu, the release of the MPs, of course, as seen from the eyes of the National Unity Platform, is both an absurdity to the system and how it works, but also something that comes as good because it brings a sigh of relief to the parents, to the family and their loved ones. I saw a gentleman who said, God has finally heard our prayers. Could God be the president?
No. I think I think it is nice to have had these people released. I mean, given bail.
Yeah.
That has always been my contention, is that if government has not yet got enough evidence against these people, they should be allowed to be given bail, and they can go to court coming from home. In fact, when they chose the new Minister of Justice, I actually asked him kindly, why don't you look into this case, and if it is possible, let these people go from home. First of all, they are members of Parliament, and they've got families, they've got homes. So to me, that is another thing. But let us also be very careful. We are talking about a state. Not this description of a president and his government. We're talking about a state. A state, in any way, if they are threatened, if a state is threatened, the state has got tools and methods of fighting back. One has to be very careful every time you poke into a state. You have to be ready, because the state will fight back. So, whilst there is that side of description, the narrative of the president and the government, particularly the president and the government is the one behind this, but there is also something called the state. The state is not only the president, it's the government and many other things involved. And a lot of people have this tendency to believe that it's the president alone. No, the president has a security, national security. And they look at if the state is threatened in any way, yeah, especially in this modern age, one has to be very careful. And you have to be very careful if that threat falls into the ambit of terrorism. Today, the method of dealing with terrorism is different from the method of dealing with a no more crimes. So one has to be very careful. Another point that I keep on saying, there is your zeal to want a change, a regime change. You even go to Europeans and ask them to come and help you. You point into the president and you intimidate him, you threaten him. You threaten government. There's going to be a reaction.
It's an acceptable modus operandi for those that want political power. President Museveni used it in the run-up to 1986. That's
right. So they will fight you back. They will fight you back. The state will fight you back. So one has to really be, think very careful. Now, I've heard that these were trumped-up charges. Could be true. How about if they were not trumped up? Yeah, I'm now talking about the state. These are trumped up charges. This is what everybody's telling us. But how about if they were not trumped up?
The state has been unable to produce evidence.
No. The state says they have got some sort of evidence coming up. They refuse some evidence. They can say we are going to do away with it. But do they have evidence or not? And these are the questions that we need to answer. Now, if they made a mistake in arresting somebody, they should also come up and tell us. And the courts should help us. If these people did a mistake, they will be charged, and they can be fined for doing that. But the argument, and I'm trying to tell my brother here, is that the state is something bigger than the president and some of his associates. So when somebody is talking about threatening a state, one has to really be very careful. And I'm saying this because I have seen it in other countries, not only here, where if the state is threatened, anything can happen. So, and today, when you're dealing, if somebody points out and says this is some sort of terrorism, that goes into a different ballgame. and unfortunately, these things are happening. However, let's go back to what we've said. I'm happy that these people have been given bail and they are coming out. And we'll continue to see if actually the state, because this is the DPP, if the state has got enough evidence against these people, and if it doesn't have, the state should come out very clearly and not only apologize, but eventually even pay compensation to these people.
All right, I'll be returning to you on the state of the arms of government, the judiciary, the legislature, in being able to monitor or even put the executive to task to do its work the best possible way, especially when it comes to transparency, including sharing information that is vital to determine whether those that have been arrested either have a case or not. But allow me ask Mr. Rubongoya, what next now?
What next? What next is on different fronts. But before I answer that question, I just want to quickly respond to Honorable Babu here that, one, in Uganda, the state and the government and the NRM as a party or as an establishment are intertwined. And everyone knows this in Uganda. You cannot, you know, where you have a military regime that General Museveni is the one who decides who gets arrested when the person is released. And you can see this. I've told him, he's a father here. I'm sure most of these young people appearing before the court-martial are potentially his children. And these people are appearing before a court-martial on the orders of who? These are civilians. They've never held guns or anything like that. You remember Nubian Lee, Eddie Mutwe were appearing before a court-martial. I think the point he makes is that when the state feels threatened by what? By the opposition support. You know, during elections, you remember Honorable Ssewanyana and Honorable Ssegirinya were arrested immediately after elections, shortly after elections and all that. So maybe then the regime should tell us clearly that, you know, no one should oppose us if that's the argument that, you know, when they feel threatened. Because if the Constitution of Uganda allows for participation, for political parties to exist, then they should allow people with different opinions to come up and express themselves other than abducting them and torturing them and doing all manner of things. I think in 2023, you cannot say that the state should use whatever means to, you know, to clamp down on opposition, when it feels threatened. And, you know, that's a challenge because in this country now, you have, ordinarily you should have the government and you should have different institutions like the judiciary, the legislature being independent and being able to function in that manner. But in Uganda, you know that you've seen General Museveni come tell these judicial officers, you know, don't give bail to murderers. But there's a presumption of innocence. You know, everybody is presumed innocent until proven guilty. There's a rule, a 48-hour rule, that if you are arrested, you must be produced before court within 48 hours. You know what has been happening in this country. You remember Honorable Ssegirinya and Ssewanyana were released actually on bail. Okay. And immediately rearrested. So what next? I would say that, like I said, we are waiting to get in touch with these members of parliament, and we'll discuss with them different options, whether legal, political, and otherwise, and see how to go forward.
As the party, I do not think you are waiting on Alan Ssewanyana and Mohamed Ssegirinya to decide what next.
No, when you say what next in terms of what? With regard to them, for example, if they are to sue the government, it will be their decision. You know, the party NUP cannot file a case because these cases of torture, of human rights abuses, it has to be an individual. Of course, the party and our legal team has been giving support, and it will give the support. But like I said, we will have to wait, discuss with them, understand their challenges, and then agree on the next course of action.
How do you intend to respond to the not accusations, to reports about this purported meeting that you were not a part of? If these are released, do you promise to appear here and tell us the truth that you might perhaps conveniently omitted?
No, like I said, as of now, for me, I know that at least the president of NUP, the Honorable Robert Ssewanyana, can speak that with authority, that she was never, because that has been our theory. We don't agree with the view that General Museveni arrests our people and then we go and sit with him and negotiate with him. Because there's very reasons why he has arrested them. Tomorrow we'll be doing the same thing. So if you arrest people today for holding a peaceful demonstration and then we go and negotiate, does that mean we will never engage in demonstrations or peaceful again? If you arrest us, young people, for putting on the red beret, which is our symbol, are you saying that after negotiation they will never put them on again? So we don't agree that the regime should arrest our people or abduct our people, and then we go and sit in negotiations, because the very reasons why they have abducted them, tomorrow we shall be doing those things. So we have told you, I can say this on authority, that as of me, I can speak again on authority. And you've seen even the LOP, the Honorable Matthias Impuga, clearly coming out to say that these stories are false. But like I said, we are going to, of course, engage with these members of parliament and try to understand if there are any other dynamics that are not within our knowledge for now.
We need to dig deeper to find out who is discussing matters on behalf of the National Unity Platform with
for now, I don't know. Yeah.
Captain, the judiciary right now.
When you have two lawyers, you have a lawyer for
Secretary General.
No, you have a lawyer for Ssegirinya, and then you have the DPP. I'm sure these lawyers talk. So if you are talking about negotiations in court, I think we have to be very careful.
Not in court.
I'm not saying that they had a political negotiations. Whatever it is between the two lawyers, we cannot know what their discussion. We don't know what their discussion was. Yeah. But obviously, if I'm a lawyer for people who are being, I would ask my friends, but why continue putting these people in, not giving them bail? I would try very much to talk to the DPP and say, but some of these are not correct. I'm sure this is what lawyers do. They've got a rapport between them.
That is right.
It's not a gladiator going into court. So it depends, and I think sometimes the media also exaggerates these things. Basically, there is a court process, and the court officers, they know how to go about this. They discuss, and by the way, we have to give a chance to the DPP. The DPP has got reasons why they do certain things, and the DPP to me here is the state. It's not somebody who is outside the court. We are in court. There is the DPP who represents the state, and there is the lawyer who represents the people who are incarcerated. So here is, I think this is where the argument is. Did they sit down and discuss? That is up to the media. Has been exaggerating it, but I'm quite sure that there is exchange of views. They say, please give our people bail, and the other group has to sit down and find out from the state whether they should or should not.
I'll be very honest with you, Captain Francis Papu. Many times you sound idealistic.
Of course.
Yeah. And in a country where the workings of the government and the state, and sometimes the responses of the people, including civil society, opposition, and any other, is not ideal, somebody begins to wonder, how do you look at the things? Right now, we have a judiciary that is on the spot. A judge can, for example, for the last 2 years or so, we've been having back and forth court issues, and then all of a sudden, a judge comes up and says, well, here we are, these are the facts, these are the, this is the foundation of my ruling, I think I can release these two on bail. And then there is talk of, you know, behind the scene negotiations. Does the judiciary have the metal to conduct the dispensation of justice in this country?
And until there is enough evidence to say the judges are not doing their work, and somebody comes up and proves it, I cannot sit here and just assume that the judge is not doing their work. You see, the judge has also got responsibility towards the state. And here is the state saying, listen, this is a very serious case, and it's a capital offense. And the capital offense, very, very clear, is not taken lightly. Now, this is what the state is saying. And here's the lawyers of the other side. They said, no, but these are trumped up charges. He said, yeah, okay, but for us, we know. We've got a...
And that is where the judiciary should be able to put the government on the spot and say, can you produce evidence within this time frame? Otherwise, the people shall be let free.
The judiciary has to be very careful here.
Okay.
They have to be careful because, you see, the state comes up with this big picture. The things is not as simple as it is. So the judiciary has... What I don't want is for us to put the judiciary into the dock.
No, we are not. But inevitably, we have to shine the spotlight on it.
No, there is a tendency to put you see, the procedures of court are a little bit more complicated than... I'm not being idealistic.
Of course.
I'm talking about there are two sides to in a court. There is the state here, and there's the advocates for the people who are in jail. Now, when they are... the procedures there is different. And the procedure for you people writing with a pen is very quick. You're not idealistic. You just write, oh, these people had a meeting. Who? You didn't even tell us who had a meeting. You're saying there are people in the background, then you say it is the leader of this one. Then he's telling you they have all denied it. So who had the meeting?
But we know it is very true the moment you begin denials.
That's media.
No, but bring evidence to show that, you know...
This media.
These negotiations
to me, it's between the two lawyers, one on the side of government and the one on the side of the state, and the other one. So I think those are the ones who can negotiate on this issue.
All right. It will be some of the questions would be posed directly to the MPs themselves on the way forward, especially when it comes to matters of legislation. But as the leading opposition party in Parliament, your two members of Parliament have not been at their jobs for a long time. This has affected their ability to work and be able to deliver for their people. What is being mooted on how to quickly, you know, accelerate the process of delivering service?
You know, like I said, these are people who have been in detention for more than 1.5 years. And you know what that means. The social, psycho challenges they get, mental health issues, of course, the general health challenges and all that. I think we need to first give these people a chance to recover. First
of course, yeah.
And then we'll discuss with them how the party and all Ugandans can support them to see that they are able to continue doing what they are, the work that is expected of them. You remember Honorable Ssegirinya and the projects he was working on in his constituency before he was detained and all that. So I think we will have to meet with them, sit with them, and see what their plans are, and also see how to support them. But also as NUP, and this is not only for their constituencies, all these other constituencies where we have representatives, we've been having discussions with our members of Parliament to emphasize the question of service delivery, but also representation for the people, and these other things. So I think let's give these members a chance to recover, then we'll sit with them about the way forward in terms of the legislative agenda and other aspects that will be engaged in.
Has there been interface between the National Unity Platform and the Parliamentary Commission? Because what I know is that Parliament, acting on its own, could be wondering where are these legislators who are not at their... What is the situation on the ground? Has the Parliamentary Commission communicated and asked about the whereabouts of these members of Parliament, and you've written to them and said, well, here they are, arrested or incarcerated, and they cannot do their job on account of that?
But of course, everyone knows, and you know, even when they were summoned, the summons had to go to the Speaker of Parliament. So the Speaker of Parliament, and indeed everybody is aware. But you also know that the leader of the opposition in Parliament is a member of the Parliamentary Commission. So the facts are well within the knowledge of everybody, and what has been happening has been very clear to everybody. All
right, Captain, where does this leave Parliament?
No, it's not Parliament alone. It's a big problem. If these are trumped-up charges, it means the two MPs have a right to go back to court and challenge the government.
Sure.
If they are not trumped-up charges, and the other side proves their case, there is a law within the system that these guys would lose their seats in Parliament. If they can prove that, well, if those guys can prove their case. And if they did, this could prove that maybe these were not trumped-up charges. Now, you have two situations. You keep calling me that that's ideal, but that's the situation we're standing in. The question is, is this government doing these wrong things deliberately? And this is where we need proof.
Are you posing that question to the public?
Oh, no, I'm posing the questions to the state.
To the state?
Yes. Are they doing it wrongly? And if they are not doing it wrongly, it has got implications. The implications are very simple. If these guys are found out to be guilty, automatically they will be charged. And if you are sentenced more than 9 months, I think, or something like that, you actually lose your parliamentary seat. So at the end of the day, the question would be, the two members of parliament have to use their system to prove that the state was wrong against them. They've got, it's a very serious thing. It's not a joke. But I'm happy they are not incarcerated anymore. They can do it from outside, and they can go back to Parliament and meanwhile keep going to court until they can prove their case.
Okay.
But the whole point is that if the state is doing this, it's unfortunate.
Very unfortunate.
Yes, if these are trumped-up charges.
Looking at the trajectory of cases against politicians in the last 25 years, are you inclined to believe that the state has a case, or it's...
In some cases they've had, in some cases they have not had. And but remember, let's think about it. You keep telling me, Amanda.
There you go.
But here is the state.
Yeah. And
suddenly, from their intelligence and their information, they say, there's a group that wants to remove your government. No, I'm just saying, you're sitting there,
of course,
and they get this information. You think the state will sit there and fold their arms? They will fight back in one way or the other until they can find the truth. The problem is, I hope they don't get the wrong information to carry out these charges. So that investigation they keep on talking about, that is also ideal.
But should they do this without reference to the law? You see, that's what I'm saying, that first of all, we need to agree that there is anarchy, there is a breakdown of the rule of law in our country, and that is how we can build again. That's how we can start thinking about rebuilding our country. You have a constitution which provides for how you arrest people. That has been taken away from the people. People come, pick you in a drone, torture you, throw you in a dungeon, hold you incommunicado for days or even months or even years without anybody knowing where you are. So, is that how the state should fight back? Even if someone is a terrorism suspect, actually, the person has rights under the law. The person must be produced before court within 48 hours. They must not be tortured. They must have access to medical treatment. They must have access to their next of kin, family lawyers, family members, etc., etc. Which things are no longer available within this context in which we operate. So I don't want us to, I really want Honorable Babu to give guidance to the nation, because we are here on the national TV, to say that even if the state has whatever kind of intelligence, the law, for example, the Constitution provides for a timely trial. Article 28, people must be tried in a timely manner. If you do not have evidence, and one of the things we've been saying is that before you arrest people, carry out investigations. Why do you just come and arrest people on suspicions of this and that? Carry out investigations and then come up and arrest. And of course, I've seen them a number of times coming up to speak the same things. I've been hearing General Tafile telling this to the police, carry out investigations and arrest. But you know, they are not doing this. They will come pick you up and then say, we're investigating. I also want to tell him, We all know the cases that have been brought against, opposition, the opposition to General Museveni for all these years. I don't think there's even a single conviction. You know how many times Dr. Besigye has been arrested, for example. You remember in Arua, when they brought guns and placed them on the table and said, we found this in Honorable Chagulanyi's hotel room. And all of a sudden they disappeared. Is that how the state should fight back when it is challenged politically? I think political contexts must be resolved politically. Not to say that if the state feels threatened, then they use the judiciary, they use the military. These are institutions which Ugandans should have trust in, which people should, So that is why people say it is General Museveni who has been holding these MPs, and it is him, perhaps, who lost interest at some point and said, okay, now they can go. But it's unfortunate because what we're talking about are lives of people. Imagine yourself in detention for 1.5 years. I was telling someone the other day that if you want to understand, this period, think about a child of 1.5 years and what they have started doing at that particular time. Or you think about your own life and what you're able to do in 1.5 years. And these people are detained. And we call them trumped-up charges because no evidence has been brought forward for all this period. So we cannot sit here and pretend that maybe there was a case or maybe there was evidence. It's clear if the regime had any evidence against these MPs, they would have produced it, they would have started the trial. But you're talking about a pre-trial stage up to now. I
hear you, and of course the tone there means the judiciary should be able to look into reforms, so to speak, where, for example, if the state is unable to produce evidence within a certain time frame, that case is disposed of. Do you think that is possible?
I want also to stop. I want some of my friends also to stop spinning.
Ah, sure.
There's a lot of spinning, and the truth also disappears in that spinning.
It gets distorted.
Yes.
Yeah.
I am not saying that the government has not made a mistake. No. Please, let's get that correct. And the spinning, every time when you spin, eventually you make a mistake. There are leaders in the opposition who have been talking and saying things that are even frightening, who have not been touched. Is that not so? Haven't you heard people in the opposition talking and saying some very interesting things? Have you heard of a leader saying Museveni should be dead? And he should be dead when he's in government, and even if he goes outside government, he should be dead? Haven't you heard of that? Now, when you hear these kind of things being said by people who are opposing government and directing it directly to the state and the government, you have to be very careful not to spin. The reason I'm looking at both sides is I'm saying if there's a mistake in the side, let's correct it. If there's a mistake in the state, correct it. I am not saying that government has not made a mistake, but we should not personalize this. There's too much personalization. And by the way, before they arrest these people who are being arrested, who gives this information to the state?
The state has the apparatus and the means to
even the opposition itself is giving information to the state. The people within the opposition are giving information to the state.
And you have evidence to that?
Are you suggesting they're shooting themselves in the foot?
But he was here asking for evidence.
This is where you are saying spinning. Yeah? Even the opposition itself has accused some of their members of collaborating with the state.
And have provided the state with evidence?
No, they have.
See, that's what I'm saying. If you say...
I keep telling you, if you spin these things, you keep on spinning them, they can get out.
But I want to ask a question about spinning.
Please do.
You see, I really want you to... Honorable Ssegirinya was bundled into a drone, violently beaten. Was that spinning?
You're asking him.
I'm asking him. Yesterday you saw a young man who came out with, injuries, grave injuries of torture. Was that spinning? Kakwenza spent time in the hands of the state. He came back with a back that was completely shattered with grave torture marks. Was that spinning? Masereka was at CMI. He came back with a bail form. Was that spinning? Our people were shot dead on the streets of Kampala in November 2020. So when you talk about spinning, I think we are trying to bastardize this argument or even trying to downplay a very, very serious matter. Like I said, these things involve lives of Ugandans. We speak about people who are still missing. For 4 years, John Bosco Chibalama was picked up. Up to now, he has not been seen. And others, Damulira was picked from Chiseka in the presence of everybody, taken by military officers.
Mr.
Is that
Rubongoya,
spinning?
I hear you and I understand exactly the emotional outburst, but allow me ask Captain Francis Babu to give us perspective. The other day, the spokesperson of the Ministry of Defense and Veteran Affairs, who is also the spokesperson for the UPDF, Brigadier General Felix Kulaije, said those that are responsible for some of the incidences of torture are operating outside the mechanism of the state security. That statement, to him, might be like vindicating or removing the UPDF from responsibility or security agencies, but it's an acknowledgement that so much is so bad that there can be rogue elements operating within the structures of the state, and the state doesn't know or has no powers whatsoever to rein them in.
I cannot speak for the state, nor can I speak for the general. But I can say this, that all over the world, wherever there is security organizations defending the state, there is sometimes police brutality. There is security brutality. It is there, anywhere in the world. So when you talk about brutality by state security, I do not deny. I cannot speak on their behalf.
When the state says some people are beating us at the game and torturing citizens.
No, when they accused the government that people had died during the riot, government admitted that people died.
Only 54, when our records indicate over 150 were shot dead.
Please, let him.
The government admitted that certain people had died. And they also talked about people who had been shot by accident and so on and so forth. They have also admitted some of their people have misbehaved and they should go to court-martial and so on and so forth. Now, my argument is people don't agree with those admissions. That's a different argument. That is somebody to prove otherwise. Now, when you talk about a general talking, he has got his evidence. I don't have that evidence. It will be unfair for me to start saying that differentiating those who are doing, bad things within the state. But I've got a feeling that there are, and it's all over the world, that there are brutality from security organs in the world, and it has happened. The question is to prove that these people did this and did that.
So where does that leave the citizen who has a state and a military that acknowledges that some people are beating it at the game of being brutal and can't do anything about it?
There's an argument that this Uganda is not an utopia. Uganda is a state like any other state. They've got good and bad things in them. And I'm saying, and I'm still insisting, yes, there are areas where things have done wrongly, and therefore government should relent. In fact, in some cases, I think government has paid. I think recently I read something, somebody being paid for government having, I think, incarcerated him and so on and so forth, and government paid
compensation.
Could they compensated him? The argument is, I'm still insisting that sometimes when you exaggerate these things because you've got a different aim, we lose the actual argument. The argument is that the state has got people who have done wrong things. But also the opposition have done some wrong things. They are not angels. This argument of saying we are angels, those are the devils, I don't agree. I think we've got to find a solution to the problem. And to find a solution is not to pretend that you're the angel and the other side is the devil. No, I don't agree with that.
So in this case, how would you advise a national unity platform?
I think for example, in this particular case,
finding solutions.
In this particular case, if these were trumped up charges, they should they should sue government. That's point number one. Now, I mean, that is following the system.
That's right.
And they should give their views. The government should also come out and tell us if these were trumped up charges. If not, they still have to pay compensation because the judiciary would decide so.
All right.
So at the end of the day, I think here the judiciary should not really be put in the dock all the time. They should be given a chance. Here is a situation, and for me, I'm still insisting. I'm quite happy that these people were given bail.
The other day we were speaking to legal minds, and we were assured that what goes on within the courts is what matters most to the judges and those that are in the corridors where justice is dispensed. Shouldn't it matter that what happens outside the courts of law must also be put under consideration, especially by those that have the powers to decide? But that's a question for another day. You had something. I need you to answer a question on, now that the MPs have been released on bail, we don't know what how stringent the conditions are and how many times they'll be required to report. You will also bring us up to speed with that. But what next in terms of your work as the leading opposition party in the country? You seem to have what has been something heavy on your plate taken off. Now that you don't have activism to go on about Alan Ssewanyana and Mohamed Ssegirinya being in jail, they should be out. What is next for the opposition party?
Like I said, ours is a struggle for change, by the way. Ours is a struggle for
liberation.
Let's
be very specific.
And, but this is what we are doing. Yeah. Whether with these MPs out or not, that's what we've been doing, and that's what we'll continue to do. We have different programs and different projects, of course, which our members are involved in. Those who have been out, and now that Honorable Ssewanyana and Honorable Ssegirinya are out, they will continue doing those particular aspects together with us. Of course, they have been required to report every once in a while at the CID, and their passports have been taken away, which is even ridiculous because these are people who need specialized medical treatment, probably outside the country. But all in all, we shall continue doing what we want to do to change leadership in this country. Now, what I want to really emphasize on this show is Honorable Babu to keep saying we exaggerate things. And really, really, it is painful. Every single day, people are abducted in this country, tortured. He's talking about the fact that you should go to court. How many times have we gone to court?
Please get me right. I've not said the word exaggeration. I've not used it.
You've used it.
No.
You employed the word exaggerated.
Yes.
Spinning is different from
You use the word exaggeration right here, and you say spinning. But the point I want to make is, you have hundreds of people being abducted, tortured. He says you go to the judiciary. When Masereka was released over 8 months ago, we went to court. Up to now, his case has not been called for hearing. When Yasin Kauma was shot dead in Arua, we went to the Human Rights Commission, filed a complaint. It has not been heard. We went to the judiciary, reported cases related to what happened in Arua. Up to now, these cases have not been heard. We have reported matters to the police about missing persons. Every person who has gone missing, we reported to the police. Nothing. So if you say, go to the judiciary, file this case and that, it's as if you don't live in Uganda. It's as if you don't understand the dynamics in this country. You know, the judicial officers tremble when they interact with political cases because they know how the regime treats its political opponents. And for us, what we are saying is that the judiciary in this country must never be used to settle political scores. The military should never use to settle political scores. Politics should be played politically, should be responded to politically, and the institutions of the state must be independent and must be able to do their work independently, and that includes the office of the DPP. All
right. Captain Francis Babu, when you hear David Louis Rubongoya speak with the passion that he does, do you hear younger Museveni in 1980?
Well, I don't know.
You've been around?
No, but you see the point when you say the judiciary is this, the only judiciary we have is there. You don't have any other judiciary. So when you have a problem that has to go to court, it has to be the judiciary which is there. If the judiciary is wrong, I agree entirely, then we should find solutions to it. For example, one of the things I've had is judiciary doesn't have enough officers, for example. Secondly, that there are some bad things that are going on there with clerks and whatnot. The question is, how do we correct this situation? Now, there is a judiciary, whether you like it or not. The only thing you can do is to go to it. Now, when you say everything should be political, nothing should go to court.
But I've said we filed cases at the judiciary.
All the laws.
I just said that we filed cases at the judiciary.
All the laws we have.
Yes.
They will tell you that if you are not happy in the elections, you go to court. If you are not happy in an argument, you go to court.
You go to court.
Now, the only court, the only judiciary we have is the one we have now. Now,
All right.
if they are not doing their work, I'm saying this, if they are not doing their work, then we should find a solution to that problem.
All right.
But you cannot go on, I mean, really putting our judicial officers to that level is also not very good.
But I just said that the 5 cases,
gentlemen,
you didn't respond to that.
We're going to have to go for a very short break and return, where we shall be able to wrap this discussion up. Of course, you are watching the Kickstarter, watching Morning at NTV, and it's the Kickstarter discussion that we are, of course, trying to look into matters following the release on police bail of Ssewanyana Alan and Mohamed Ssegirinya, the legislators there. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
Welcome back. We're glad you're still with us here, and it's the Kickstarter discussion on Morning at NTV. The topic today is Alan Ssewanyana and Mohamed Ssegirinya's trying times. What next for the legislators? What next for the National Unity Platform? What next for the judiciary? What next for the executive? The questions are all rotating around that. Should government come out and say we don't have evidence, or the evidence that we have cannot be divulged as easily as the public wants us to do that? Well, those are all aspects under consideration. In studio this morning, I have the Secretary General of the National Unity Platform, David Louis Rubongoya, as well as seasoned commentator, Captain Francis Babu. For their perspectives, we are, of course, emboldened. Captain, allow me, ask you to do a wrap on the Ssewanyana and Ssegirinya fate, so that I can transition very quickly for your comments on some of the issues that are happening in the country away from this political soap opera.
Thank you very much. There has been a cloud hanging on the country about human rights.
Yeah.
And accusations, and some of them correctly, and some of them being given. Now, this human rights accusation, which becomes an international problem, by giving these 2 honorable members bail, is a relief, in my opinion, first of all.
By the way, it's court bail.
Yeah.
I'd hardly alluded to police bail.
It's a court
very
bail.
wrongly. It's court
the
bail.
Court bail.
Yeah.
And allowing them to get medical treatment and so on and so forth. The court has a procedure. I'm sure if somebody needs to go abroad for treatment, the court has to give permission. And then the passport is given to them. The other point is that once they're outside and they can go to court, if government has got any evidence, they will continue going to court and until the government either proves their case or they lose their case. And in this case, if the honorable members are not happy with what is going on, they're also free to file a case against government. So to me, it's a good situation that they were released. And if there are others, because of this human rights cloud I'm talking about, they should also be given bail.
That is right.
It should not only be the honorable members. If there are others who are in jail, and because of, according to the accusation, being political. And if it's not political, they should also be given bail and they continue going to court until their cases are
for some elements out there, if negotiations have been able to release the 2 negotiations, to be able to release the others too.
We don't need the negotiation. I think the judicial officers, the lawyers on both sides, the advocates, they should find solution to this problem using the judiciary, and the state should be kind, because we want to reduce this cloud of human rights abuse, in my opinion. All right, Mr. Rubongoya, wrap this up, and then I can be able to transition very briefly on other aspects that, of course, defining our political space.
Yeah, of course, the cloud he refers to of human rights abuses continues in this country. And it is not helped by, for example, the regime's decision to close a UN office in Uganda, the UN Human Rights Office in Uganda, but also the reluctance of state agencies to carry out investigations within time to deal with human rights violations. And also, but of course importantly, the fact that when they come up and say, oh, we respect human rights, the following day, they abduct people. And you see the reason why he's saying, let's not personalize this, let's not talk about Museveni all the time. If these people who commit these crimes, they are well known, why are they not tried? You know, people who shot dead people during, even those that are shot dead, the regime said about 20-something people were killed by stray bullets. And we've not seen these people being arraigned before courts of law to be convicted, to be tried and eventually convicted for these crimes against humanity. So in our perspective, it is a policy of the state to carry out these actions. If people are abducted every day, taken in safe houses, held incommunicado, and then the president comes out to say, General Museveni comes out to say, you know, these people are, we don't condone that, we should follow the law. What are you talking about? Just arraign the people who are committing these crimes before courts of law and let them be tried. Otherwise, your government will go down as one of the worst in terms of violating people's rights with impunity. And so I want to say that we are very glad that Honorable Ssewanyana and Honorable Ssegirinya are back. We hope they can recover and be in good health. One of the biggest challenges we have is that every person who is abducted is injected with unknown substances. Every person who comes from these cells, even Eric, you heard him say that he was injected, Tawa who was abducted, Bobby Young, everyone comes up, and we keep wondering what are these people injected with. So we hope that these our comrades can get proper medication, they can go abroad and probably even do tests on their bodies to establish what's going on, and then we'll see how to continue struggling with them for a better country.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. David Louis Rubongoya, on that particular issue. Now, the Daily Monitor edition for the 15th of February 2023 has 8 issues at the heart of the NSSF probe emblazoned on the front page. I won't require you to go deep into probing NSSF because it's already facing a probe. But I need to understand, what do you make of the state of affairs when it comes to social welfare in this country? Right now, we are having the test, the ultimate test of what is no doubt a financial behemoth right now under probe. And when you hear or see what is happening there, what do you think?
Very, very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. It says a lot of things. It talks about our culture, our developed culture. In fact, it's not part of our national culture or tribal culture. It is something that we've developed over the years in this modern era. Now, this bad culture of not respecting public enterprises and coffers is very, very unfortunate. And this is not happening only in the NSSF. NSSF seems to be one of the areas which seems to have, which is very attractive because of its size and all that. But this is happening everywhere. The other day we had it in the Bank of Uganda. We've had it in different places where people have talked about it. We've had it in URA and so on and so forth. So and now, of course, we have Umeme and so on and so forth. But the whole point is, do we as Ugandans respect public enterprises? And these things you're talking about, to me, these are simple indicators that there's a bigger problem. The problem is, I think the people in Singapore said, do we have the right people for the right places? Do we have the right people in the right places to do this kind of work? Yeah. And that's a question we must answer. Are we going on credentialism? Are we going on nepotism? How do we employ our people?
We seem to know the answer.
No, we don't. Because if you look at NSSF, for the years I've been around, they've had this problem every time. Everybody who has been in NSSF, in leadership, has had this problem. This is not the first time. You're talking about something that has happened recently, but this has been happening all along. Is this part of the system? Is it the state itself interfering in agencies of government? Is it individuals? what is the problem?
Can't you use that span of time to draw a conclusion as
You
Captain
can't.
Babu?
You can't, because to me, it is a culture that has been developing because of all sorts of reasons. And how do they say? Putting square pegs in round holes.
In round holes.
And putting the wrong people in the right. And we have a lot of very good people in this country, as far as I'm concerned.
But they are not.
They are not being used. They are not being deployed. Could that be the problem of the state? Could that be the problem of appointing authorities? Could that be the problem of running some of these organizations? Are we running the wrong organization? Should we run NSSF, or should let it become a private sector organization?
Now that calls for reforms in
Reforms of
social
NSSF,
welfare.
yes.
Okay, Mr. Bongoya, NSSF is a big issue. Of course, NUP finds itself right now, I must be very honest, struggling to find a activism platform or front. Shouldn't you be pushing social welfare for the country?
Well, first of all, to his credit, Honorable Babu seems to know all the symptoms. But then, when you ask him the cause, he seems not to know the cause. The problem of this country is General Museveni and his people who have decided to personalize state institutions and personalize. And you know, he talks about it because you see, you know, there was a minister for gender, labor, and social development some years back, Bakoko,
Zoe Bakoko.
Honorable.
yeah, who really explained the challenge of NSSF. The interference by the state, by, you know, members of a certain family and all that, which is still going on. You had, you read the letter of this minister referring to meetings at Kapeka to discuss matters of NSSF. And I think if we are to be honest, we know where the problem of these institutions comes from. And you trace it in Bank of Uganda, you trace it in URA, you trace it in every institution. So the malaise you're talking about, and when we talk about the need for change in this country, then they say, oh, don't personalize. But when we know that that is a problem at the heart of all these things that are happening, if you take time to listen, I've been following the probe and what has been going on. Accusations point somewhere, they're coming from somewhere. So, you know, the former managing director says, I was under pressure, political interference. When his press heard who are these people are, you know, putting you on pressure, he somehow doesn't want to mention them. But we all know where the problems are coming from. So the question of social welfare is at the root of our manifesto, of the things that we've been talking about. You remember during COVID, this challenge of social welfare came out very clearly in the press and all that. So people who are serving with NSSF want to know that their money is safe, and to know that their money is kept by and invested by people who are competent to do this work, using best practices, and not going to be interfered with every once in a while. We're just talking about the Ssewanyana case, and we talked about the interference with the judiciary. So in this country, you have a situation now where the executive interferes in the workings of every institution. And, you know, cartoonists have been showing General Museveni is drawing a cartoon with the judiciary in one pocket, with the parliament in another pocket, with NSSF here. That is the problem of this country, that you have all institutions fused, and because the constitution gives him a lot of powers, he's the one who decides who becomes head of what. And of course, we've ended up with a lot of nepotism, a lot of people being appointed, not on merit, but you see, you have a picture of the IGG there, Betty Kame. How was she appointed to that position? She loses a seat because she was standing under NRM, appointed IGG. You know how important the office of the IGG is in a country like Uganda. But what are the considerations for appointing people? Political considerations and all sorts of things. So if you keep your meat with the hyena, then tomorrow you come up to complain that it has been stolen. It's very wrong to do that.
All right, very interesting there. We're going to have to wrap this discussion. Kickstarter, of course, it was mainly the fate or what next for MPs Alad Ssewanyana and Mohamed Ssegirinya, who are now apparently trotting hospital to hospital seeking medical treatment to be able to get doctors to attend to some of the ailments that they could have, well, contracted or caught up during their incarceration. What we can say is that we shall be amplifying any aspect or story that requires that justice be dispensed. On the show, there was a moment when the judiciary came off, so it's off on the spot. Absolutely not in the dock, as far as I'm concerned. Captain wanted me to be on the spot over that, but I didn't put
No, I'm not saying you. We should be very careful. No, the reason I say these things, and please don't get me wrong, you see, if I accuse you of something because somebody has said so, and you really take me on, if I don't have any proof, I am guilty. So before I accuse somebody, I need to have proof.
That is right.
I can't go on saying, so-and-so did this, and suddenly he goes to court, or she goes to court, I'm in trouble for it. So I have to be very careful before I accuse anybody. I need proof to accuse somebody, and I have to be... Now, it could be so. Maybe they are doing it. But what proof do you have? You see? Now, the lady who was a minister says, I got a cheat. Now, she's got a proof. That she got a cheat from somebody to do this and that and that. Now, she is the one who's got the proof. I cannot take that one on and use it as my proof. We really have to be very careful when we are saying these things, because even our laws are very clear. You do not call, you don't say anything against people. I cannot say anything against Rwongoya, which is not true. And we have to really, that's why you say, I'm being idealistic, I'm being very careful.
And when you're careful in that manner, then sometimes you really sit on the truth, because there's a phrase in law called res ipsa loquita. The facts speak for themselves.
What's that? Say it again.
Res ipsa loquita.
This man,
if people appear before court with torture marks,
which language is that?
And that's Latin. That's legal language.
He's a lawyer, you see.
But the point I'm making is there are things where you really don't need to. Otherwise, you'll never get the proof.
That is right.
Because if someone is abducted, kept away incommunicado, and then dumped somewhere, and then you say, oh, I need to get the proof of who took them, and then there's nothing you'll ever comment about.
I'm afraid we're going to have to wrap this up. Many thanks for joining us this morning and offering your perspectives and insight on the fate of the two legislators who are now free on court bail. Ssewanyana and Muhammad Ssegirinya. Captain Babu, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
David Louis Rwongoya, thanks for making time.
Thank you very much.
That will do it for the Kickstarter discussion on Morning at NTV. We hope it has emboldened your understanding of matters, but also lessened the anticipation and anxiety when it comes to the workings of the judiciary. Here on Morning at NTV, we do hope the dispensation of justice will take the day and that the truth shall finally be revealed. We do stand for that as a Nation Media Group. It's been a pleasure having your company on behalf of my colleague Priscilla Regina Naloga, and of course the team behind the scenes that ensures that this is a success for the 2.5 hours that we get to be with you. No doubt, many thanks. Have yourselves a lovely day. I'm Chris Higenyi.